Dear friends, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce tonight's distinguished speaker. I don't know if there's a thing, if it's fair to say, of anyone being genetically wired to be a Holocaust scholar and activist, but surely all of the strands of the life of Rabbi Dr. Bernard Rosenberg would surely have nudged him along in that direction. Rabbi Rosenberg is first and foremost, in his own mind, the only child of Holocaust survivors, Jacob and Rachel Rosenberg, Zichronam Livracha, both from Poland. Rabbi Rosenberg himself was born in a DP camp in Germany, and virtually the entire family, except for one cousin, including his father's first wife and 2 children, had their lives cruelly snuffed out by the Nazis. Rabbi Rosenberg has for many years been the spiritual leader of Congregation Bethel in Edison, New Jersey, and a chaplain there. He is a musmach, ordained rabbi, and a PhD from Yeshiva University here in New York, as well as having multiple degrees in communication and education and a Doctor of Divinity from the Jewish Theological Seminary. Books that I have referred to not realizing that they came into this world to no small extent because of Rabbi Rosenberg's guiding hand. Rabbi Rosenberg has been an author, an activist, a speaker, an educator, a public prod, and a conscience on so many levels. In fact, the coincidence that he is even available to be our speaker tonight is in no small part due to his activism and his refusal to take the dignity of the Jewish people in general or the state of Israel in particular lightly. We are delighted to note that Rabbi Rosenberg recently received the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award. Some of you may have known that this past week we marked the 45th anniversary of the tragic slaying of Dr. King. He also received the Chaplain of the Year Award from the New York Board of Rabbis for his efforts during and following 9/11. 11 years ago, he was presented with the annual Rabbi Israel Moshowitz Award by the New York Board of Rabbis. He has frequently been a radio and TV interviewee, hundreds of articles published regarding the Holocaust. And there is much more that we could say, but then I would be guilty of taking away from the time allotted to such a distinguished speaker. And so with great pride and with a great sense of privilege, may I introduce to you Rabbi Dr. Bernard Rosenberg. Lest I be accused of bad manners, we're delighted to welcome his dear wife, Charlene, who is with us this evening as well.
Great honor to be here. It's my wife, Charlene. She's over there. And I want to tell you that your rabbi is known to us that know something about scholars as being one of the greatest living rabbis who is known as a rabbinic scholar. And you should be very proud to have him as your rabbi. I want to take a little bit of a survey before I begin, so I'll know who I'm talking to. For those that are Holocaust survivors, I know you. Where are you from again? Where are you from?
Where are you from? I am from Lodz, Poland.
Thank you.
I'm a survivor of the Lodz Ghetto, Auschwitz, Freiburg, Death March, and I was liberated in Mauthausen.
Right, we've met before.
By the American Army, the Rainbow Division.
Thank you. Who else is a survivor? An actual survivor? How about children of survivors? Yes? 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 Thank you. Where? Where? Thank you. It's an honor to be here. How many of you are second generation? How many of you are third generation? Okay, so my message is to you. I'm a greener. Verstehst? Du weißt, was ein greener ist? Also, man kann reden Jiddisch ein bisschen, ja? All right. So, this is my chevre. The reason why you have me here tonight, free of charge, is because I put out the word, I was so angry, that any group that wanted me free of charge, anywhere in the country, could have me. All you had to do is pay for my transportation, or find Jack Daniels available at your nearest office. And I presume Jack Daniels is what I'm getting. And about 1 hour from now, in Edison, New Jersey, where I invented the Interfaith Holocaust program, and where I'm chaplain of the township, one of the imams will take his tuchus and leave, showing his tuchus, right before the Hatikvah. 2 years ago, what he did was, when I said, please rise for the Hatikvah, he took his tuchus and sat down. So I decided that, you all know what a tuchus is, yes? So I decided that this time he's not going to make a tuchus out of me. And I made a whole deal, and I said, look, if this guy's walking out on the Hatikvah, or if he's sitting there, then I'm resigning. So I have resigned as a former president of that group. But what I've got to tell you is welcome to the new world. All right? Now I'm talking to my chevra, so I'm allowed to be open. Yes? Okay, so if you don't like what I have to say, you're not being paid, so you can leave. If you like what I like to say, then do me a favor, since you are my chevra, put the word out. Most Holocaust speakers, are weak, do not have any guts, and all they want to do is talk about genocide. Let me tell you something. 75 years from the date of the last Holocaust survivor, 75 years, the Shoah will be nothing more than a date in history. 75 years from the date of the last Holocaust survivor. My father died 30 years ago. My mother died 20 years ago. This is my mom and dad. Poland. My father was in Auschwitz. My mother was in Czarzysko and in Buchenwald, and they were liberated from Buchenwald. This is me, thin and with hair, just in case you want to know. This is me as a baby in a displaced persons camp in Regensburg, Germany. My mom and my dad. Today, we talk about genocides. The church has taken over. The interfaith groups have taken over. The Shoah groups were not as strong as we used to be because the Holocaust survivors are dying every single day. So my first message tonight, for those of you second generation, you got to be my age or younger. We got to do something, and we got to do something in a hurry because we're running out of time. Third generation. How many of you are third generation? All right, there's not too many of you here. That's not good. You got to get more of you. Now, let me tell you something about the second generation, your parents, me, us oude kakkers, versus you. You can do something, if that's God, tell them I'm busy. You can do something we could not do. You can ask questions of your grandparents if they're Holocaust survivors, if they're still alive. Most of us, and go like this if I'm correct, we didn't ask. We didn't ask because we didn't know what to ask. We didn't ask not because we didn't want to know. We didn't ask because we didn't want to hurt them. We didn't ask because, unless you spoke Yiddish, they didn't speak English. We didn't ask because we were too young. You know, it just dawned on me the other day. My oldest is what, turning 31? How old is my oldest now? 31. Oh, seven is good. And when my dad died, I was 35. So thinking about it, I left home when I was 17 to go to Yeshiva University, an only child. So what questions at 17, what brilliance does a teenager have to ask his father or mother about anything? And you know what the answer is, guys. You're teenagers. You talk to your parents? Go like this, because you know you don't. But we didn't either. Now's the time. So now let's talk about where do we go from here? And what's it all about? And why is Hatikvah important? The Holocaust did not bring about Israel. That's a mistake. But without the Holocaust, I don't think there would be an Israel. So for an imam or Christians or interfaith groups to say that we can take out Hatikvah because Palestinians don't like it, guess what? Then they should not come all together. It's called a Holocaust program. It's not a genocide program. It's not a feel-good program. It's a program for those that lived through the Shoah. And if you lived through the Shoah, let's talk about the Shoah. You have a problem with Palestine, let's have a discussion, a political discussion, all you want. I won't be there. Second of all, unless we find a way to tie Holocaust observance to that which is religious, I promise you that the remembrance of the Holocaust will be long gone even before 75 years. So I created, free of charge, you can get it on the internet, the Rosenberg Holocaust Haggadah. So there. All you have to do is change and put your family on the first 2 pages, and the rest of it applies to everybody. It's a Haggadah that deals with the Holocaust. I also created, while I'm doing this, the Holocaust Rosenberg Siddur. Same thing. It's on the internet. Go look it up. Change the first 2 pages, put the history of your family in there, and you have a siddur that you can use for Pesach or any other time. I created a massive bibliography with film. You can watch all the films you want, and it tells you what they're all about, and it's on the internet free of charge. There's a book of poems on the internet, look under Rosenberg, free of charge. Unless we find a way to include the Shoah during Yom Kippur, it's very nice to talk about the martyrs, but guess what? We of the Shoah are martyrs also, and there should be a part in the Tefillot of Yom Kippur dealing with the Shoah. Tisha B'Av, the same is true. Part of the Tisha B'Av service should include that deals with the Shoah. And the only way that we are going to keep that memory alive is through religion. That is the only way. Now, there are people that will say, of course, I'm not religious, I'm an atheist, I'm a this, I'm a that, and every excuse under the book. Without those who believe in some type of religion, meaning liturgy, the Holocaust as we know it will be long forgotten. We have so many great writers that have written, but it's not liturgy. Now, do you know how many people have given zillions of dollars to Yad Vashem? Yad Vashem is the greatest place in this world with regard to research. Greatest place. The United States Holocaust Museum. Go there. Right? Greatest place in the world. 75 years from now, nobody's going to care. Do you know why? It's not going to be Holocaust. It's not going to be Władysław, where my parents came from. It's not going to be Slomniki. It's not going to be Polish towns where you've come or Russian towns where you've come. It won't be that. It'll be genocide. Go to most of them now. I've gone to them. Everywhere in this country, LA, in Germany, and everywhere. I'm watching Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King is very nice. It belongs with the Baptists. Doesn't belong with a Shoah program that should be dedicated to teaching you about the heroes and the survivors of the Shoah. And another thing which is very important, something we've got to stop doing. We have got to stop talking about how many were murdered and how many were killed and how many were hung and how many were put in gas chambers. It's not going to bring back anybody. We need to start talking about what did the survivors accomplish in this world. Survivors that are here that made it. Survivors who did not end up in insane asylums. Survivors who built families. Survivors who built businesses. Survivors who built yeshivas. That's what we need to talk about. Does it really matter how many gas houses there were? Every idiot that's a scholar knows that what they just found out a few weeks ago, that there are many more places of killing, is nothing new. It's nothing new. And I'll prove it to you. How many of you have been to Auschwitz? How many of you have been to Majdanek? Do yourself a favor. Somewhere along the line, go to some of these concentration camps. You know how big the killing field is? My shower's bigger. There's no way, right? There's no way that 6 million people, whether it's typhus or whatever, could have been killed only in these places. Big deal. Who cares? Is it going to bring back my 2 siblings? Is it going to bring back my grandparents? Is it going to bring back anybody? No. You want to do a mitzvah? Here's the mitzvah, guys. Tell your children, second generation, my group, have sex. If you could have sex, good for you. Get Viagra. I made my parents a promise. I'm an only child. I left Kansas City, Missouri to be a rabbi at 17. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. I didn't get married until late because I had to go wait for Charlene. I was 33. And everybody, you know how it goes. He's never going to get married. He's losing his hair. He's gaining weight. Nebuch, Ashlamio, Ashlamazo. I have 4 children. I have 6 grandchildren and 1 on the way. And before I die, I hope to make it around 15 or 20. I have left that as a request to my children, who are now having sex, hopefully, somewhere. Next problem. We are learning, because I was part of it, to mandate Holocaust education in the secular schools. Do you know that? Yeah, take a look at the curriculum. You'll see my name, it's there. Where is it in the yeshivas? You know what they learn in Lakewood? Narishkeit. Forget about nothing. I wish it wasn't nothing. The Zayde Chaim Yanko wore tefillin as he killed 95 Nazis with an Uzi. No truth. It's got to be changed. Thank God there's now a new museum in Borough Park that's opened. I've been part of it, and we're feeding them with real literature, and I hope you'll visit it. There's a new museum in Poland. Did you know that? That's just opening up next year. You should go. You should go and see it. A new museum. There's new life in Poland. But you know what's happening? They are down to the last third amount of kosher meat in Poland. Did you know that? This is what's happening in the world. To tell you how stupid we Americans are. We don't care, we don't worry, we're not tearing our hair out that an imam is walking out on the Hatikvah. But in France, Half of France is now on the east side and the west side of New York, and the rest of them are in Israel. Go try and buy an apartment near Jerusalem and find out who owns them. Or on the east and the west side where French is being spoken. Go to Norway, Jotunrhein. There are no Jews. Most of Europe, there's nobody there. The Muslims have come, the extremist Muslims have chased them out, and they're busy killing the Jews. And we sit here and suck our thumbs, and everything is good. And here in America, we should sing Kumbaya with the Muslims and everybody else, and everything is fine, and Zashdil. And Zashdil. Walk out on the Hatikva, and Zashdil. And finally, and then I'm going to open it up to questions, let's stop talking about we went to the gas chambers like sheep to the slaughter. Let's stop talking about that nonsense, because it's not true. I'm not going to go through all the different places where the Jews fought back. You can read about that. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Just to survive, like my father who was 65 pounds, just to survive and not die meant surviving. And I'd like to know how many brave souls sitting here, if I had 20 machine guns that had 100 rounds in them, will go rush so they could get killed. Why didn't the Jews fight back? I don't know. Why didn't the American army fight back when they got captured? Why didn't the Russians fight back when they got captured? You know they got captured. Why didn't they fight back? Why didn't they take these trained soldiers, unlike the Jews that weren't trained soldiers, and go rush so they could get killed immediately? Why didn't they do that? Because life was too important, and only an insane person wants to commit suicide. So let's stop talking about Jews went to their deaths like sheep to the slaughter. And finally, let us remember and be proud of yourselves, second generation. Now I'm talking to you. You know, for a long time, I've been told that I'm crazy. That may be true in my case. But most 2Gs have been told that they're crazy. Do you know that? You got baggage. Your parents are nuts. They were in the Holocaust, so you're nuts. You got baggage. I can tell you, you have the same baggage as anyone else who was in a car accident or who had cancer or anything else that went through anything that was hard. The same baggage. No different baggage. You're not Meshiga. Now here's the new one, which I really love. Not only are they picking on the second generation and saying we're crazy, but now our children, they're nuts too. They have traumatic genetic syndrome. What that means? Somehow, through sex, our Holocaust survivors gave it to us, and we gave it to them. So they're equally as nuts as we are. It's a lie. All the studies are a bunch of lies. It's nonsense. It all has to do with how you were raised in your family. It all has to do with whatever pressures you had in your family. It all had to do with whatever stress you had in your family. No different than any other situation. And finally, I'm going to leave you with this thought. As second generation, as third generation, as Holocaust survivors, be so proud of yourselves. The mere fact that you were able to survive and to live after all the baggage that was brought into your lives, you deserve a tremendous amount of credit. May God bless you. I'm now open for any questions that you would like to ask. Questions, please. If you agreed with me, please get on the telephones, speak to the reporters, speak to Federation, speak to all the rest of these mavens, and tell them, what are you guys doing allowing an imam to walk out on Hatikva? What is wrong with you?
Have you spoken with the yeshivas and the message? Obviously,
I developed the curriculum for May's Yeshiva, Olav Shalom, Moshe Aaron Yeshiva. I taught there for 12 years and developed the curriculum. We taught it there. Most yeshivas, especially in Borough Park, I mean, I read what it is. Chayam Yanko, Shmedanko. They can't even write it in English, so I can't help them. Yes?
What happened to the rest of the congregation where he walked out, when he sat down?
Well, what happened was I didn't chair it that year. I usually chair it. So they all came, you know, I'm basically good for two things. One, I'm a kochleffel. So, you know, if you need someone to cause trouble, hello, Rabbi Rosenberg, are you available? We need you at 2 o'clock in the morning to destroy half the world. Okay? So everybody came over to me, Rabbi Rosenberg, Rabbi Kick, the imam, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm not the chairman. I'm not the chairman. The Reform rabbi was the chairman. Okay. So I took care of it later on, but I wasn't the chairman. But wait till you hear this one. Now this got me really upset. And I couldn't say anything because I wasn't the chairman. So the Reform rabbi, and has nothing to do with her being Reform or a rabbi or being a she, but she spent 5 minutes saying how we should love our brethren, including those in Palestine, who are going through these horrible things, and how their children are being massacred by our soldiers. If I wasn't in a shul, I would say Kishman Tuchas. But I am. Oh, I'm sorry. I did say it. Is it verstehst? So that's Pollard. What is he doing sitting in jail? Why is he still there? What did he do? He helped Israel. He's dying. Let him out. What's wrong with us? Yes.
Did any of those people walk out is what I wanted to
No, are you kidding? Liberal Jews, no guts. You would have walked out. I know you would have. This group would have walked out. This group would have laid a bomb right now in the JCC in Edison. I can guarantee it. I feel it. I know it. And they're sitting there, oh, they have Holocaust survivors, Gesundheit, we're lighting candles, blah, 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 blah. But an imam can walk out on Hatikva. And the answer given to me was, what does Hatikva have to do with the Yom HaShoah? I don't know. What does a bris have to be with being a Jew? I don't know. Yes? Excellent. Unfortunately, my parents had died before they were able to do anything. But if you'll look on YouTube, I have a number that I've produced. I have a YouTube station, the Rosenberg YouTube station. Insanity personified. Look at it. It doesn't cost anything. You'll enjoy it. Yes?
Rabbi, how is the Holocaust being introduced into the liturgy today?
Well, I've been pushing so hard. I'm going to tell you the truth. You want to listen to this? Because you're not going to believe. I mean, you're like me. If I would hair, I'd grow it. But remember the Rabbinical Assembly that you conveniently left? Because he was smart. He's president of the traditional one, right? Well, I got thrown out of the Orthodox one, so I had to join the Rabbinical Assembly. I got thrown out of the Orthodox one, which is, you can invite me back for that discussion, because I took a conservative shul that they placed me in, and then when I needed to be placed again, they wouldn't place me because I was in a conservative shul. But we're not going to go into that because that's another topic altogether. So around Yom HaShoah, I send out about 20 different items of liturgy that I make up on the Shoah. And let's see, one rabbi wrote me that I should only drop dead in the crematoria with my ancestors. Because he can't take any more my speaking about the Shoah, because I'm the Shoah guy. That's what I do. I'm the Shoah guy. And they didn't want to hear it. So another guy said, this is a maven from Israel whose parents were in the Shoah. He says, you should see a psychiatrist. I wrote him back. I do. It's my wife. You see, that's what's going on. Even the New Jersey State Holocaust Commission, Paul Winkler and that group, of which I was part of for 6 years, they don't allow any religious liturgy. So there isn't any in any of their listings, including my books. They won't put them in. They're not allowed to. So it doesn't exist. Either you get Hasidic Narishkeit or nothing. Or go on Holocaust.com and you'll find what I have. I hope more people join me. I'm running out of time. But I don't give up, and I won't give up. I want to share something with you very important. Why I won't give up. Some people have made the mistake of thinking I have an ego. Can you imagine? Yes. So I must tell you the truth. First of all, I've survived my own shul for 23 years, which, of course, is a miracle. I've survived the marriage for 30, which is another miracle. It's on my wife's side, I think. But I decided a long time ago that I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. If my 2 siblings are dead, if my grandparents are dead, why am I here? And then I found out that my mother, who was at Skarzyszko, anyone know where that is? They made bombs for the Nazis. She was fed these drinks that wouldn't allow her to have their period, you know, this whole story. And she couldn't really conceive later on. And if you'll take a look at my head, I literally do have a hole in my head in the back. And I have a scar beginning from the hole in the head all the way through my neck, which is as obvious as it was that I was a kid, because I was supposed to die, and I made it. So I dedicated myself to the Holocaust. I grew up in a town called Kansas City. Anyone know Kansas City? Yeah? Okay. I was a rabbi at age 12, ordained by the community. Kansas City doesn't have very much of an Orthodox population, and my parents were no longer Orthodox because of the Shoah. I convinced them to start keeping kosher and going to shul and all these good things, and they were kind enough to support me. But I made a deal with myself. I became religious for myself. I became Shomer Shabbos for myself. I became a rabbi for the Shoah. I don't know if you understand the difference. Okay, so I don't care if I serve in a conservative congregation. I don't care if I serve in a congregation that has chimpanzees. I don't care. My job is to preach survival of Judaism. As far as judging people, I don't judge anybody. I judge myself. I keep my own Shabbos, Machzor Shabbos Alayim, but I don't judge anybody. So that's me. I'm very unique in the annals of something or another. So I am, at age 65, doing the best that I can. But I got to tell you, you should see the horrible things I get on email. The worst thing I did was learn how to use email. My wife kept saying, here, you got 2 doctorates, you don't know how to use email. Fine. Now that I know how to use email, they're ready to put me away in jail, and I don't know what else. I was in the Huffington Post about 8 times today. You should see what I got back in return. I was on CBS Radio Sunday morning at 7:50, and you should hear the calls I get. You should hear. The Holocaust wasn't 6 million. The Holocaust was 50 million. How dare you say the Holocaust were Jews? Not, a bunch of Narishkeit. Nothing has changed. There weren't 6 million people died. There were 200 million. And how come you Jews have the right to say you're the only ones that suffered? We all suffered. Who are you to say you suffered? Take a look. You know the blogs? Read the blogs. Read the blogs when my name comes up. It's a comedy act. Any other questions? I hope you're enjoying this. Yes?
What is happening on the universities?
Oy vey.
Sorry I gave you.
Oy vey, Stetmanish get. Ach, please. Sie liegen in Bett zusammen. Should I translate for you? I will. Sie liegen in Bett zusammen. They are laying in bed together. So, what happens? I'm going to get away from the mic. I'm very controversial. You know why? I tell the truth. And I've been on the university campus for almost 40 years. Okay? Back in the shit, 2 Holocaust survivors are talking about the Palestinians. Let's go out and have a riot. Hits New Jersey Jewish News, yes?
Oh, yeah.
You read it? Now it's Zashtil. We have a new Chabad building. We have a new Hillel building. We walk around with the president who's too busy with his basketball people. You understand? How can you say bad things about any anti-Semitism on campus when you're getting money to build your building? You understand? Is that an honest answer? Second of all, you have these professors who bring in Palestinian professors to teach the children that we kill their young. We eat their young for breakfast. And what happened? They have tenure. And it's still in New York. One gal, Geller, is busy putting up signs, about the Palestinians, so everyone's attacking her. Palestinians got smart. They're putting up signs telling the Jews to go under it. It's a new game. Putting up signs. Putting up signs. Signs. That Israel should not be supported. The Palestinians should be supported. Signs. Where do you go in New York? Signs. But you want to know what's going on the campus? It's not good. And it's not good for another reason. You have too many liberal rabbis on campus. Too many liberal rabbis on campus. You hear me? Take a look at what they support. I'm not going to go into detail, but see what they support. It's not what you support, I promise you. If you support a state of Israel, they don't. They want to give half of it back. And you know how many of them there are? Take a look at the RA list. It's mostly conservative and reform rabbis. That's the world today. And when people like me speak out, we get trounced. Because there's only a few of us. I was the head of Rabbis for Romney internationally. Little me was the head of Rabbis for Romney internationally. I lost. Just in case you didn't know. Questions? I don't want to keep you long, so if you have another question or two, please. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm trying to be as honest as I can. I'm not holding back. Yes.
Who would you consider Jewish heroes today for students on a college campus?
Not many. I don't know.
I mean, we were raised with Sharansky and Mendelevich and people.
I was the last rabbi in New York to have Meir Kahane speak from my shul. He died 2 weeks after he was refused a speaking opportunity in Highland Park, where I offered him to speak in my shul. He was so upset that he said, "Thank you, Ben, but I won't." And 2 weeks later, he was shot dead. Call him any name you want, call him a Michigan, but he was right. At least I think he was right.
Me too.
All right. Who else? I don't know. I think most rabbis are gutless. Did you see the top 30 rabbis? The top 200 listed in the Jewish Week in New Jersey? Who are these people? This rabbi should be number one. He knows more on his left toenail than they do in their entire library. Who are these people? Never heard of them. Final question. This is it. Yes, ma'am.
It's not a question, it's a statement.
Yes.
Meir Kahane spoke here.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Good.
It's very good.
Yeah, I got blacklisted. I was blacklisted for 10 years by Federation.
Really?
Yes.
We are.
Blacklisted for 10 years. So I didn't give any money to them. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. When I speak, they always ask me, how did you survive? And my answer always is, I don't know.
Right.
But maybe I survived because I'm here to tell you one thing. I'm here to tell you it should never happen again. Not to Jews, not to blacks, not to Asians, to anybody. And that's the only way I survive. And not to fight again. But look at the world. Everybody is fighting. They're
I'll
not
conclude
listening.
with a comment on your beautiful question and statement. Okay?
That's the way it is. But it's always said, how did you survive?
Because you look like the type that I wouldn't mess with. You remind me of my mom. You wouldn't want my dad. You wouldn't want to start with him. I'm asked stupid people, including the stupid Israelis, in a poll that came out 3 days ago, 65% said, no, it can't happen again. We'll lob a few nukes into Tel Aviv, into Jerusalem, and let's see if we don't have another Shoah. What do you mean it can't happen again? And what do you think is happening in Europe right now, where people are running like there's no tomorrow? Yes, it can happen again. Yehuda Bauer said, it happened once, it can happen again. I love you. Thank you so much for having me.
We want to thank Rabbi Rosenberg for a very stimulating presentation. Although I must take public exception to some of the generous evaluations of me that were offered to the public. Though I do have grandparents who would have believed it. It has always been our custom in the concluding parts of Yom HaShoah to end with affirmations, a remembrance of those who fell, a mourner's Kaddish, because we all understand how singularly we are all mourners as we contemplate the Shoah, and of course with the Hatikvah. I'll ask that each of you turn to the back page as we sing together the Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin B'emunah Shelema B'viat HaMashiach Ani Ma'amin Ani Ma'amin B'emunah Shelema B'viat HaMashiach Ani Ma'amin Ve'af al pi she'yitmameh im kol zeh achakelo b'chol yom she'yavo b'chol yom she'yavo. We turn for the recitation of a Malay, for which I'll ask that we all rise, this Malay specific to the Shoah. El Malay Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina B'malot Kedoshim Utohorim Kizohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmot Kol Acheinu B'nei Yisrael Anashim Nashim V'taf Shenitbechu v'shenechnechu v'shenisrefu v'shenergu began eden tehei menuchatam ana bal harachamim hastirem b'seter knafecha li'olamim utzror b'tzror chayim et nishmotehem Adonai unachalatam v'yanuchu v'shalom al mishkavotam v'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the souls of all our brethren, men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burned to ashes. May their memory endure, inspiring truth and loyalty in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say Amen. I lead us in the 23rd Psalm, Mizmor David, a psalm of David. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. B'no desha yarbitzeni, he gives me repose in green meadows. Al mei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev. He leads me beside the still waters to revive my spirit. Yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. He guides me on the right path, for that is his nature. Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Shivtecha mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Your staff and your rod comfort me. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorurai. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. Dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revaya. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life. V'shavti b'veit Adonai li'orech yamim, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'ganei makalman kariv yemaru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach li'olam u'lalmei almaya. Rach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'yalma v'yamaru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aminu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamaru amen. Dear friends, as we prepare to conclude with Hatikvah, just one personal note. Some of you may recall that a week and a half ago during Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach, we read the Haftorah of the dry bones of Yechezkel, and the bones personified, saying that there was no hope for them, avda tikvatenu. There was no chance for them to be reconstituted after the devastation. And I mentioned at that time that it took 2,000 years for those bones to get a decent answer. And that answer was provided poetically by Naftali Hertzimber, who said, Odlo avda tikvatenu, our hope is not yet lost, the hope of being a people on its own land again. And I mentioned in that context that Chol HaMoed Pesach was the 20th yortzeit of Rabbi Joseph Ber Soloveitchik, one of Rabbi Rosenberg's dear teachers. And Rabbi Soloveitchik, I mentioned, wrote a beautiful essay based on a verse of Song of Songs read on Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach, Kol Dodi Dofek, the voice of my beloved knocks, where he understands, Rabbi Soloveitchik, that the state of Israel represents God's knock on the door of Jewish history, begging to be let in again. It was a beautiful Hebrew essay. I was vaguely aware that it had been translated into English. Only after I spoke about it last week did I find out that it came into English translation through the efforts of Rabbi Rosenberg. And so we respond to 2,000 years of Jewish hopefulness in a realized Jewish state as we sing and conclude with the Hatikvah. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulefate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvatenu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liodam chavshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Liot am chavshi ve'artzenu Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Dear friends, we invite you to the social hall for some light refreshments and an opportunity to interact with our distinguished guest. We wish you a thoughtful evening.